So, this is a far cry from what I usually do. Uh, this is gonna be complete, kind of an unscripted, sort of off the cuff reaction type video. Because I saw this in my recommended earlier today. Hi, Marshmallow, go away. And I just want to see where, where this person, where Phantom thinks warlocks sit, and where I might disagree or agree with them. So let's watch the video.
Hey, it's me again. We need to talk. We need to talk specifically about everyone's favorite floating space wizards, the warlocks. Or specifically, about what's been going wrong with warlock as of late. Intro aside, this will be one of my usual batch of thoughts as to what I feel like is a big problem with Destiny 2. And this has been a problem that's been continually growing for the past 2 to 3 years now. So let's talk about Warlock and about my concerns with Warlock. And to do this, we need to take a little trip down memory lane. So let's start with a little bit of history and my concerns with what Bungie has been doing with Warlocks. These concerns started way back with the release of Beyond Light. You may recall, and if you don't, a little teaser here, that I released a video way back in November of 2020 called The State of Destiny to November 2020. Yeah, 2.5 years ago. And in that video, I was very swift on my criticism for Bungie's abhorrent treatment with the Warlock class and how quickly the brand new Shadebinder kit was slapped with nerfs, while both the Hunter and Titan kits were allowed to roam freely with overpowered broken stasis combos that would not actually be addressed for multiple seasons of time in advance. We had to go a whole year with Hunters and Titans abusing shatter mechanics, and then Warlocks not even having anything other than one little overpowered melee ability for about a week of time before it was.
I don't even think it was like a week. It was like got pat. The warlock stasis melee got nerfed like day 1 or day 2. It was a really quick nerf. Yeah, no, that was there. It really because it had like twice the range, and it tracked super aggressively, almost like the void warlock melee does nowadays. And it still did the instant freeze, and shatter damage was out of control. So you could just wipe a team with it. It was impossible to miss. So yeah, but like he definitely got a point. The shatter dive slash glacial quake meta that terrorized Beyond Light for a full year, compared to Warlocks getting nerfed like day 1 or day 2, is just not. Yeah, it does feel a little unfair. Let's continue.
Now, these criticisms on the treatment of Warlock continued well throughout the year of Beyond Light. We saw incredibly lackluster armor pieces, including Mantle of Battle Harmony, Boots of the Assembler, and then a dumbed down version of Nothing Manacle.
Okay. Lackluster. Okay. I wouldn't really say any of the. Well, okay. Boots the Assembler is nowadays is pretty lackluster. At the time, it was pretty cool. You could just spam. You had an infinite rift for any activity you were in. You could stock up Lumina without having to do anything. This was post Lumina Catalyst. Mantle of Battle Harmony is a great neutral game exotic to slot into pretty much any build you want. And nothing manacles is personal favorite of mine. It's just great for Void Warlock. I mean, yeah, at the time pre Void 3.0, it was dog shit. It's still kind of a niche pick, but I wouldn't say it's like a bad exotic. It does what it does, and that's what it does. It's not, not every exotic can be like sunbracers. The game there's just not enough room for exotics like that to exist. If every exotic was sunbracers, there would only be like 5 exotics. I feel like that's not really a fair criticism to make.
There was
well, okay, hold on. What exotics did Titans and Hunters get in that time? Path of Burning Steppes, Mask of Bacchus. I can't even think. Hold on, let's go like GG. Database exotics. Wow, this is gonna fucking take forever. I love it here. Why is this taking? Why is everything taking here? There we go. Alright, hold on. Let's start season 12. Armor. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. I don't know how to use this. Jesus Christ. Why the fuck is everything taking so long to load? I'm not gonna restart this recording. You guys are just gonna have to deal with this fucking slow ass loading. There we go. Okay, so Titan. Oh god, in that time. Okay, in that span of time, the year of Beyond Light, Warlocks got Necrotic Grip, fantastic exotic. Dawn Chorus, another fantastic exotic. It got shafted by Solar 3.0, but they recently buffed it. It's pretty good now. Nothing Manacles, we already talked about that. Mantle Butter, we already talked about those ones. Strategy Scales, really good. Okay, they're S tier. But Radiant Dance Machine, come on. Really? Radiant Dance Machines are definitely worse than any of these 3. Omnioculus, another S tier one. Okay, fine. Athras' Embrace, funny PvP pick. I mean, it stuns Unstoppables. I don't think anyone's ever used it for that, though, so that's not really a thing. Mask of Bacchus, it's PvP exotic, kind of flashy, not super useful. It does the damage bonus for stasis weapons now, because they reworked it. It's not super useful, not super flashy. It's nowhere near Omnioculus or Starter Shields or even Dawn Course or Necrotic Grip for that. Titans, Path of Burning Steppes. It's cool for solar builds. Not really anything else. Precious Scars is the dumbest fucking exotic ever. No one ever used it. Icefall Mantle. It's cool. Not really practical for 99% of the game because the game expects you to jump from like all the time, and you can't do that with using this exotic. Curse of the Falling Star, S tier. I don't need to explain to you that one. No Backup Plans was dog shit from the moment of release till Season of the Deep, where they buffed the shit out of it. Now it's easy, really good. So like 2 exotics a piece from each class are phenomenal, and the other ones are just kind of So I don't think that's like a fair criticism for him to make. None of these exotics are really that good. I don't know. Let's continue.
There was really only one saving grace for Warlock in the Beyond Light year. It was Bleak Watcher. That was the only thing that Warlock actually got that was good for the
entire year Beyond Light, because they didn't do any subclass up. Yeah. I mean, exotic weapons, warlocks benefit from some of them differently, like Agriceptor. Because you could do Agriceptor, Mental Battle Harmony, DPS. That was pretty funny, but yeah, I guess.
Entire year of Beyond Light. Glacial Harvest to this day remains the weakest, the absolute weakest stasis aspect as it pertains to shard generation. Well, not that anyone even cares about shards currently, but you get my point. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So that was the Beyond Light year. Now we pan forward to the Witch Queen. So things actually started in a better spot. I actually did, at the time, give a good insight into if this was how 3.0 was going to be handled, then, we had a lot to be hopeful for. Void 3.0 came out in a great...
So, okay, I'm going to preface this with this whole section with saying I was against the 3.0 system from the moment they announced it. You could ask literally anyone I was hanging around with at the time. I said it's going to be the death of class identity. Build crafting is going to be dog shit. There's going to be one way to run each subclass, and that's it. And I super negative about it, 100%. I was totally against it. I knew we were going to lose certain playstyles, basically just us playing the game in a way that Bungie now does not think that subclass should be played. I'll expand on that later when I'm sure he talks more and more about each of the subclasses.
Spot for warlocks. We even saw an incredible exotic armor piece in the form of osmiomancy gloves, which to this day still remains one of the only useful stasis exotic armor pieces for warlock.
Are there any usable, really usable exotic pieces for the other classes that are stasis? Like, Hoarfrost is not that great. Renewal Grasps got fucking shafted. Warlocks only have one stasis exotic. Wait, no, the new one from Lightfall is dog shit, but also so is. Yeah, no, okay. Well, Cadmus Surge's Cap is pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. It's the only one. Yeah, one of two. That's 50%. Come on.
Unfortunately, this joy that Void 3.0 provided would be incredibly short-lived, as the rest of the year was filled with nothing but disappointment for Warlock. Both Solar and Arc 3.0 shipped so weakly that Bungie was forced to hotfix in buffs to these subclasses. Both Solar and Arc had hotfixes for buffs that the kits had. Even then, after these hotfixes, the subclasses were still left in a terrible place. Insult to injury aside, guess what happened throughout the rest of that year? More lackluster exotic armor pieces. Rain of Fire, Fallen Sunstar. Both of those are useless.
No. That's simply just not correct. Rain of Fire and Fallen Sunstar. Rain of Fire is a PvP oriented exotic. It's tied directly to your Icarus Dash and fusion rifles. So you can use it with one. You can use them. You can use it with a fusion rifle. You can use it with Icarus Dash. You can use it with both. You can use it with either one separately. It's a exotic that does what it does. It enhances one specific thing. There's a lot of exotics that do that, like Caliban's Hand. You can only use it with proximity knives. Rain of Fire. It does what it does. It's not the flashy exotic. Like I said at the beginning, not every exotic can be Sunbracers. Not every exotic can be Peak Hoyle. There's got to be room for other exotics to exist. Fallen Sunstar is an incredible team play exotic. In this guy's opinion of it being useless at the beginning. Crown of Tempest exists. It gives me my abilities back. But in a team play setting, Fallen Sunstar is going to be a lot. It's going to give way more value than Crown of Tempest could ever really dream of, given the nerf they gave it. God, was that 30th anniversary update and they fucking shafted it? I don't remember, but it got neutered. Fallen Sunstar is just better. Like, yeah, like these grenade 25%, and then you just give your allies energy. Double. Damn, that's actually better than I thought it was. 10%. So, pair this with something like Cold Heart, you have infinite Onic Traces, and you're basically playing a support on a non-support class, which is kind of cool. It's not useless, it's not Sunbracers, so you're not a fan of it. Osmomanes is another one of those Sunbracers exotics that just does everything, and this is not how every exotic can be. Not every exotic can do everything. It's just not feasible. Let's keep going. I'm in a rant.
Outside of very specific niche applications. So now we've reached where we are with recent memory. Lightfall shipped with a brand new element, and we got a new subclass, the Broodweaver. Bungie marketed this as a summoner class. So far, the only summoning that we're doing is from casting a rift and consuming your grenades. Now, the super can augment this in a minor regard, but it still feels well below the expectations of what it was advertised to be.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. But I was not expecting Strand Warlock to end up in the place that it is, given what it was advertised as the summoner class. I thought I'd be throwing waves of threadlings every minute or so, and threadlings would do more than just run at enemies and explode. It's just not what I was expecting, or what it was marketed as. Like, I was expecting more something akin to stasis, where everything's kind of like crowd control and, keeping things, like distracted, like the hunter dodge aspect where, enemies will target it. I thought threadlings would just kind of like do something like that. Instead, they just kind of like run at things and explode. It's like an AFK grenade almost. I don't know. It's a grenade that aims itself, which, it's cool. It's not really the power fantasy I thought we were getting with Strand. And the new aspect, Weaver's Call? No, something along the lines of like Weaver's Call. It just makes your tangles like fly further. Gives them suspend. It does a complete 180. We only have one aspect that really does anything for threadlings. So we have the grenade aspect that just gives the grenades an additional effect. Lets you eat your threadling grenade for threadlings. Lets you eat the suspension nade. And I'm not actually sure what it does for the grapple nade. But the new aspect feeds way more into the whole suspend everything sort of mindset that emerged with, the necrotic grip, Weaver's Trance, Osteostriga build that emerged really quickly after the beginning of Lightfall, the one that was disabled during day one raid, because heavy-handed plus Osteostriga plus nothing manacles, necrotic grip just made it suspend everything and generate infinite orbs. So it really, build crafting, the community build crafting did not for a second even consider threadlings as soon as suspension was discovered to be as strong as it is. It's basically just Bleak Watcher. It's just Bleak Watcher Warlock again, and it's not what we were promised, really. It's a cool playstyle, not really what we wanted. I'm gonna rant
So,
again.
with all this in mind, why am I doing a video now instead of when this problem actually started? So, I've actually been a Warlock main since the beginning of Destiny 1, and I've
Same.
been through the whole ups and downs of this.
Yep.
But At this point in time, I really feel like the bland, obvious class favoritism is clear as day to the point that someone really needs to come out and say something about the
I
problem. I'm going to chat about the specific problems with Solar and Arc 3.0.
I think there might be some. I think class favoritism just kind of is there in some areas for one class, and like, oh, hunters are the favorite for PvP balancing because duds, and warlocks are the favorite for PvE balancing because and titans just get shafted. Titans do just get shafted, by the way. Titans are definitely not the favorite class of the Bungie devs. Titans get routinely given just shown the door and told to get the fuck out. It's kind of ridiculous the way Titans get treated.
And then I'm also going to have a little bit on Stasis and Strand later in the video. But to really start talking about this whole class favoritism problem as a whole, we need to talk about the general gameplay loop of Warlock in general. So let's take a look at...
So Warlock is, kind of lackluster gunplay spam abilities to make your gunplay better. That's how Warlock functions. Whereas Hunters is just 100%. So Warlock is basically 100% ability play with gunplay to accentuate it. And then you have Hunters, which are basically 100% gunplay with abilities to accentuate that. Hunter abilities tend to just make the gunplay abilities make the gunplay better. And then you have Titans, which kind of sit like right in the middle, where they can go either way. They can either go 100% ability or 100% gunplay. Either way, they just kind of sit right in the middle. It's kind of where the classes end up balanced around. Let's see what he has
what
to
this
say.
is actually supposed to be. Now, Warlock was always advertised to be the Space Wizard class. This is a class that was supposed to be focused heavily on ability play over gunplay.
Yep.
Now, gunplay was supposed to be a fantasy that the Hunter class was supposed to focus in, and, for the most part, it did a very good job of that. However, everything started to change when the 30th anniversary pack launched at the end of the Beyond Light year. In that release, Bungie said that they wanted to tone down the ability usage in the game and focus more on gunplay.
So,
now, this would be fine if abilities weren't so baked into the Warlock kit to begin with. Now, the problem, I feel, originates from the key difference in movement and maneuverability offered to all the classes.
That is an interesting take.
Warlocks have the weakest maneuverability of all three classes. And
what?
And this primarily sources from the behavior of their jump ability, which is a glide. Now,
the best jump in the game. Warlocks undoubtedly have the best jump in the game. It's what allows them to do things like well skate. The OP movement tech that Warlocks do. The well skate, the thing that's been ruling the meta as far as, speed running and maneuverability and, like second encounter Iran, if you can just well skate, you can solo it. You can solo raids with well skate tech. I mean, yeah, sure, scatter shading exists. Shatter skating exists, but it's nowhere near as usable as well skating is, because well skating is, on Warlock. It's on Solar Warlock. It's not on Stasis Hunter. Stasis Hunter is kind of dog shit. He's gonna have to make a hell of a defense. I'm gonna be honest. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. This is kind of. I don't want to insult him, but this is doo-doo take. This is what.
Well, the other two classes, they have impulse-based jump behaviors, so they can quickly start and have more of a fall off in their jump, whereas Warlock has a much smoother height.
Yes, Warlock jump is momentum based. Not it doesn't provide you any lift. It gives you momentum in the direction that you're already going. It is a skill based jump. Do not ever use balanced glide. If I see this guy open up his menu and he's using like strafe glide or balanced glide, this point is moot because he's using the wrong jump. Burst glide is the best jump in the game. I will hear. You could ask literally any player, any warlock high-end player. Burst glide is the best jump in the game. You could ask any high-end Titan player. You could ask any high-end Hunter player, and they'll tell you Burst glide is the best jump in the game. That it's a fact. There's no disputing it.
So it has a longer transition. The big difference, though, as it pertains to Warlock, originates in both class abilities and melee abilities. Hunters have dodges and very quick to activate jump abilities.
Yes.
All Titans have some form of
Yes, because Hunter class
a charged melee ability that, prior to next week's Season of the Deep launch, does not consume their ability energy, so they can quickly move across the map. What about Warlocks? Well, we have one movement ability on our solar class, Icarus Dash.
Okay. If that's how you're defining movement ability, then yes, Warlocks are the weakest in terms of movement. That's just not how movement is defined by anyone else. Hunter Dodge is barely a movement ability. It only moves you a few feet.
This actually strikes me as hilarious that some Titan mains were so salty over the nerf to shoulder charge that they went on Reddit and all but demanded.
Okay, but it's an unjustified nerf. They removed the one-shot potential of the shoulder charge, and they said they did it because they wanted to lean more into the movement aspect of it in PvP. You know, flash cut to a year and a half later, and now they're removing the mobility portion of it. It's a dead ability now. They've removed both parts of the thing that made the ability usable. There's no... It's not... It was a bad change. I'm a warlock. It was a bad change. I'm a warlock main. I agree. It was a bad change. It was... Dude, it's the worst change imaginable. I don't know why they did it. They ruined shoulder charges in PvE because melee hit registration is so bad. You can miss, and now you have to wait based on, you know, however many seconds based on your strength stat. You know, have to wait to try to shoulder charge something again because Bungie's dogshit network won't let you kill a red bar. It's a bad change, flat out. This is it. It's a bad change. God damn.
A nerf to the only Warlock movement.
Okay, but Icarus Dash does. Icarus Dash. I fucking hate Icarus Dash. They never should have added that shit to the game. I fucking despise Icarus Dash.
Ability just to preserve Warlocks being on the lowest end of maneuverability.
Which they're not.
This actually goes hand in hand to the fact that Hunters and Titans have a much significantly higher usage rate in the Crucible, and this originates to three aspects.
Three aspects. Majority of the player base is Hunter. Titan is really fun. High-end PvP players, they all play Warlock. Or they play Solar Warlock or Arc Titan in PvP. That's what they do. You know why? Because of the maneuverability. Unmatched maneuverability on Solar Warlock. Icarus Dash and Burst Glide, unmatched by literally anything except Arc Titan. Which they just removed the basically maneuverability of with that shoulder charge nerf we were just talking about. But yeah, you're right. No, actually, no, you're wrong. There's no way Titans have a higher play rate in Crucible than Warlocks. Hunters, I can see it because like 40% of the player base is Hunter. That's an old stat. I don't know if that's actually true or not anymore, but at one point, yeah, like 40% of the player base was just Hunters. Only one character, even. Just Hunters. Hunter is just such a popular class among casual players that's why the first Guardian games was the way it was, because Bungie skewed they weighted medals differently between the three classes, because Hunters had so many more players than the other two classes, that if they had accounted equally, Hunters would have blown. There wouldn't have been a chance for either of the other two classes to win. Nowadays, I feel like the classes are probably a bit more evenly split, but Hunters are definitely still the most popular class among casual players. Which, I don't know, people kind of seem to forget this, but casual players are the majority of the player base. Like, not everyone logs in and does, solo flawless dungeons and raids and all this other stuff. High-end content. Not everyone does that. Some people just log in and play 6 games of Crucible and then log off and go play Apex Legends or go to their job or touch grass or kiss a woman. Not things that high-end Destiny 2 players do, You're solo flawlessing a dungeon in the background. People don't just do that. Your opinion is skewed by your place in the player base, and I hope you understand that as this video goes on.
First, Hunters and Titans have much more potent PvP-focused exotic armor pieces and
PvP-focused exotic armor pieces. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let's take a look here. Oh god. Okay, we need Insurmountable Skullfort, not PvP focused. Chasm Side Camp, not PvP. Eternal Warrior, kinda. Not anymore. Helm of State 14, kinda. Not really. Cover's Horn, it can be. No. One-Eyed Mask, yes. Yeah, One-Eyed Mask is definitely PvP focused, but it's also kinda bad. AC Feedback Fence, kinda PvP focused, not really. Precious Scars has PvP aspects that make it neat for like trials with the res shield and whatnot, but it's really not. But that works for PvE too. It's not super. Ashen Wake, no. Aeon Safe, no. Titans is a PvP focused exotic. Unfortunately, it was brutally slaughtered by Bungie like 2 seasons ago. Ruined. This exotic is a throw pick. If you're wearing this exotic in PvP, you're done. It's over. It increases your 70%. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, it's over. It dies in one shot. It takes 4 minutes to charge. It's dead. Not PvP. Syntheseps is an interesting one because it's spawned basically virtually unchanged since vanilla, and it's phenomenal in both PvE and PvP, but there's a very strong risk reward associated with Syntheseps because you have to be. It does just flat increase your melee range, but that's it unless you're surrounded. And to be surrounded in PvP is a kind of a huge risk, which makes the trade-off of getting one-shot melees while surrounded a bit balanced. I wouldn't say it's like fully balanced, but it is a bit more balanced than what it sounds like. Is just get one-shot melees at 9 meters if you have knockout, and Syntheseps procced, because they do stack the melee range bonuses from Syntheseps and knockout do stack, so you can get those 9-meter melees, which is why you see Syntheseps Titans fucking flying after people with melee lunge. It's hilarious to watch. from like an outside perspective. But Synthoceps are, I wouldn't say they're PvP focused because they're really good in PvE. Ursus, no. Wormgod, no. Actium, no. Arbor Warden, it's just, I don't. This one's too new to judge, really. Armamentarium is. None of these are PvP focused. I don't. Antaeus wards are PvP focused. That is one. Dune Marchers, yeah, they did just patch them to make them even more PvP focused. Lion Rampants they're just a movement exotic. They're not really focused on anything. Mark 44, kinda. Peacekeepers, yes. Peregrine Greaves, kind of same spot as some of the other ones. They're kind of both. Not really focused. Phoenix Cradle, no. Path of Burning Steps, no. Yeah, only a few Titan ones are truly PvP. Now, see, Hunters have a lot more PvP focused ones. That doesn't mean they're good, mind you. That doesn't mean anybody runs these or uses them. They are probably 100%. A lot of these are dog shit. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, because the first one, Foe Tracer, PvP focused. It's dog shit. It helps you almost never. I don't even think the tracking works in PvP. Knucklehead Radar just gives you enhanced radar. That's only useful in PvP, and it's not good. It's not good. Wormhost Crown is really good. It's a really good PvP. It's pretty PvP focused. I'll give you that. Athresis Embrace is not supposed to be like a PvP only exotic, but nobody has ever used this to stun an unstoppable champion. So I'm gonna say, yeah, okay, it's not PvP focused, but it does make PvP more fun. Caliban's Hand is PvP focused, yes, but it's not really that great. Geoffrey Sting is PvP focused. Also not super great. I mean, the better you are, the better this exotic becomes. You know, I mean, if you're fucking Kami Cakes and you're throwing smoke bombs across the map and tagging people for free headshots, then yeah, it's a good exotic for PvP. But not everybody's doing that. Buccaneer's Trick Sleeves are just for sidearms. 100% funny. Liar's Handshake, PvE, Oath Keepers, kind of both because it just buffs bows. Renewal Grasp, PvE because they neutered them in PvP. Sealed Aham, kind of neutral. Young Ahamkar's Spine is just a trip mine. It just buffs trip mine. It's not like it buffs trip mines better in PvP. Wisdom Vest is still a PvP focused exotic. It's dog shit. Nobody runs it. Give up on it. Rework this shit. It fucking sucks. Gerfalcon's PvE, 100%. Lucky PvE. Omni PvE. Kind of both. PvE. More same as Raiden Flux, but more PvP-ish. PvP, yes. Both. PvP, both. PvE, PvP, but they're kind of bad. PvP, kind of both. Yeah, there's not, okay, PvP, yeah, and then we're on the Warlocks. You know, PvP is not, no one's running Astrocyte, no one's running Blink in PvE. PvE. It's kind of both. If you're a really big fan of Void and Crucible, but it's not really just the best. Stag is, I don't know. Stag is. They nerfed it. It used to be more than 5%. So I guess that's why you never see it anymore. Interesting. Farady's Brow, definitely hard PvE focus. Ansel, Aeon's, God. Balador's Wrathweaver, yeah, PvE. Controversial Hold were, at the peak of handheld Supernova, definitely PvP focused, because it was just hold your grenade button to get damage resist and a one-shot ability. Getaway artists. I don't know. Getaway artists seem to feel a lot more PvP focused nowadays, especially with something like Centrifuge benefiting from being amplified on demand. So I'm gonna say that one's. I'm gonna put that one in the middle because it's not really either way. Karnstein's definitely PvP. There's benefits for PvE, definitely PvP focused. These are incredible in PvP. Necrotic Grip, PvE, Nothing Manacles, PvE. Ophidian Aspect, hard PvP. Phenomenal PvP exotic. Osmomancy. I am a Stasis Warlock main. These are phenomenal in PvP. I main these. Sunbracers, PvE. Winter Scale, PvE. PvE, oh god. PvE. These were the bane of PvP players' existence for a while. It was hilarious. But yeah, PvE. Rain of Fire, PvP. Rain of Fire is a PvP focused exotic. Because no one runs Ikdash outside of niche damage strats in PvE. Or, people that don't know what the fuck they're doing. T-Steps, PvP. So I'd say there's a pretty even split between all of these as far as PvP focused exotics go. I don't think this is a good point. I don't think the number of PvP focused exotics in each class is a fair point to make. They all seem to have quite a few
subclass kits. Second, because Hunters and Titans have a much higher level of maneuverability and ease of access.
How much maneuverability is there on a map like Cauldron? Really? Okay, they say movement is the skill gap. That's true. That's not. You're treating it like there's no redeeming qualities to the Warlock jump or Warlock kits in general. Okay, I'm just gonna rant for hours.
It is much easier to perform high-skilled movement tech on Hunters and Titans compared to Warlocks. And then fine skilled movement, maneuverability, and ease of access to it. It is much easier to perform high-skilled movement tech on Hunters and Titans compared to Warlocks.
High-skilled movement tech on Titan. Like what? What high-skill movement tech do Titans... What secret high-skill movement tech do Titans have? Titans don't have any movement tech as far as I know. I mean, they can bubble skate, but it's horribly inconsistent. I mean, skating isn't even a concern at this point because we're talking PvP. Hunters, the hunter jump with Stompies sending them straight into the ceiling is a little annoying. Just look up. It's not. I don't understand. What do you think happens in these Crucible matches? Do you think a hunter dodge just sends you across the map fully invulnerable? I don't think you're a PvP player, Phantom. I don't think you have the basis to speak on PvP, judging from the things you're saying right now about Warlocks in PvP.
Warlocks. And then finally, both of those classes have free access to one-hit kill melee abilities, whereas Warlocks don't have.
No. Free access to one-shot kill melee abilities. Okay. One-shot kill melee abilities on 3 classes. Free access, which means it's just ready to go. You don't have to build it up. So that means Thunderclap and Weighted Throwing Knife. I'm sure you can use Peregrine Greaves to, make all shoulder charges one shot. You can also use Liar's Handshake to make any melee ability one shot. ACD Feedback Fence can do that. I see. Yes. Okay. Well, as far as one-shot melee abilities go, Warlocks have just the Incinerator Snap, which is not good. I'm gonna be honest. It's not good in PvP. So, okay. Also, lightning surge, which has the same conditions as syntheseps. That's one I forgot. Hunters, warlock, or titans have access to syntheseps, which is an access to one-shot abilities if you're surrounded, which is the same as lightning surge. If they're close enough to give syntheseps one shots, they're close enough for lightning surge to one shot. So you don't have to kill each of them individually with lightning surge. It just wipes them out. So I don't know.
Have a single one-hit kill melee. About the only thing that could be considered a one-hit kill melee ability on the Warlock is the Lightning Surge, which is something that I don't think even belongs on Warlock, and we'll talk about this later on.
Really?
Oh, and by the way, the whole Lightning Surge thing, it's getting nerfed next week anyways, so it's not even going to be a one-hit kill melee.
No. It's not getting nerfed to not one-shot people. It's not getting nerfed, it's getting fixed so it doesn't erroneously just... So what's going on with it is it's when you hit someone with it, they're jolting, and then the extra damage, the aftershocks from the melee, proc the jolt on the person that's jolted, and they jolt themselves to death. That's what's happening. That's not supposed to happen. That's not your jolt shouldn't jolt itself. It's broken. It's busted. It needs to be fixed. If you hit two or three people with it, it'll still one-shot all of them. That's because you'll hit them, it'll jolt them all, and then the aftershocks cause the jolt to change between them, and they all die. That's how the ability is meant to work. They're not nerfing it; they're making it work as intended, so it doesn't just randomly one-shot people that are alone. It's still gonna work the same way. It's gonna work the same way. It's just not gonna be busted. It's not like Bungie has it out for Warlocks. It's an unintended effect of the melee that's getting fixed. It's not a nerf. It's a bug that's getting fixed.
Melee ability anymore. So this is just one part of the game that I feel really needs to be targeted for a major shakeup. So hitting the whole maneuverability issue is one aspect that I think Warlock really needs help with. But we're going to focus in on a couple of other points today.
I disagree. I disagree. Not every class is meant to do everything. This is sort of the Sunbracers analogy again. Not, Warlocks, you give up, some of you as far as, if what you're saying is right. Warlocks give up the maneuverability for way more potent abilities than like a hunter, which has given up, their abilities for way more maneuverability, as you put it. All three classes, they're not. Then Titans would be right in the middle again. Because shoulder charge, it's really not that great of a movement ability. Titan jump sucks. Good God, Titan jump sucks unless you have the ramp pants on. I know people are gonna hate me for saying that, but that's true.
Start it. So the first pain point that I want to bring up for Warlock today is our Warlock Rift. Now, Warlock Rift has been in the game since the inception of Destiny 2.
Yes.
But Warlock Rift is a little different than the other two class abilities in the game. Rift has a significantly longer casting animation.
Okay. Rift is also capable of making your weapons one-shot opponents in PvE if they're even with low degrees of accuracy. I know it kind of got nerfed, but you slap on those boots of the assembler that you shit on earlier, and your high-impact sniper rifles will still one-shot to the body. So Hunter Dodge doesn't let you do that. Barricade doesn't let you do that. I don't know.
And it has the longest cooldown of all three.
I don't know. It seems kind of balanced to me. I don't know. If I get a melee fight with someone that's wearing Karnsteins and a Warlock Rift, and they can 3v1 an enemy team, yeah, I'd say that justifies having a longer cooldown. than a wall or taking 3 steps and reloading your weapon. I don't think you understand how strong Rift is. Maybe you're not using it correctly. Even maybe it's a skill issue. Even I don't want to be mean, but this is kind of actually making me mad. Oh boy.
Of the class abilities in the game. So you would think that it would be the most potent of the 3. Circumstantially, however, that is not the case. It is not the most potent of the 3 by a long mile.
What do you mean potent? What does potency mean in this context? I don't. What does potency mean in this context? They're not comparable abilities. None of them do the same thing. I mean, okay, if you mean as far as getting you out of danger, then yeah, Hunter's just the best. Is it giving you a safe haven? And Titans and Warlocks are kind of similar as far as, Healing Rift and Barricade go. Empowering Rift is a little niche. I think Empowering Rift is less of a I need to get out of jail free card and more of a I'm going to bust down the doors so you place it down before the fight kind of thing. And you have like Phoenix Dive, which is more akin to Hunter Dodge than anything, I would say, but also, allows you wearing Lunafactions while alone? Anyway, Phoenix Dive allows you to do things like ignition bracing, which, if any of you have seen, like, Imagine's Sunbracers build, you know exactly how strong that build is. So, whatever.
Now, sure, having healing on demand, that's a very strong gameplay ability.
Yes, it is.
But guess what? There are weapons, exotic armor pieces, and perks on weapons that can offer the exact same benefits.
Are you comparing Unrelenting or Vanguard's Vindication to a Healing Rift? Are you comparing Suros Regime's healing on the bottom half of the mag to Healing Rift? Okay, actually, you can compare, oh god, what is it? Funny Titan Solar Hat. Oh god. Makes the sunspots. What the fuck is it called? Oh boy. Loreley. Loreley is one that you could equate to a Healing Rift because it really is just kind of an emergency Healing Rift. Exotic. You're not comparing Karnsteins to a Healing Rift. You could theoretically compare Lumina to a Healing Rift, given the synergy that Lumina has with Healing Rifts. You're really comparing Unrelenting to a Healing Rift? Come on. When have you ever run Unrelenting on anything for any reason? I'll tell you, never, because it sucks. It's a dog shit perk. Perks that heal you on guns are bad. That's just the way it is. Devour isn't healing, it's an instant heal. There's a difference, because Devour can, keep you going if you keep getting kills, but as soon as there's nothing to kill and you're alone with a boss, Devour becomes worthless. It doesn't protect you from, sustained damage unless you keep getting kills. So that's not... Healing Rift is just free healing on a spot. If that spot's in a bad... if that spot is, a bad spot to be in, that's entirely on the caster's fault. That's not the Rift's fault. If you're having a problem with Rift, it's probably you.
On demand, and without a cooldown. And then there's Empowering Rift. Empowering Rift has been dumpstered by warlocks to the point where
Yeah.
Bungie needed to introduce an exotic armor piece to the game, Secant Filaments, to make them feel even usable in the end game. But there's a couple problems with it. First, the exotic was only designed with a Void subclass in mind, so if you're not using Void, well, forget about it.
Yeah.
And second, the most recent update to the game, which granted the ability for subclass verbs to stun champions, basically just removed the whole usability
Oh
factor
yeah,
on this
Secant
exotic.
Filaments need a full
Anyways.
rework.
And then
That's
there's
fair.
the kicker. Talking about casting time, the amount of times I have been killed in the Warlock Rift cast animation is hilarious.
Okay. Then stop putting your rift in bad places. You know, I mean, just a couple seconds ago, you put it down in the middle of the arena, surrounded by bosses, or the boss was right there, and there were minotaurs shooting at you. Yeah, that was a bad time to pop a rift. How do I break this to you? That the problems you're having with rift are your fault.
Yes. If you compare the cast times of the other class abilities, only Titans come close. And then when you actually cast a
It's because hunters don't have a cast time. It's just you use the ability. They're not casting anything. They're dodging. Hunters don't have a cast time. They're completely. I mean, sure, if you want to count cast time as locked into the animation and not able to do anything, yeah, hunter dodge is pretty quick. Titan barricade, on the other hand, if you have like Bastion on, you know, when you have a barricade that actually does something other than, you know, block your line of sight between you and whatever's shooting you, yeah, that's a long. The Bastion Titan barricade has a longer animation because it's a stronger barricade. Rift has a longer animation because it's a stronger ability.
barricade, it actually blocks the incoming fire, whereas while you're casting a rift, you're stuck in position, can't move, and you're still taking fire.
You just did it again. You just did it. Why would you pop a rift there? Drop down so you're in cover. Why would you pop a rift there?
Fire.
That right there, that's your fucking problem. You're not getting out of the fucking. Not getting out of cover, or you're not getting out of the line of sight of these fucking void cannons that are shooting you relentlessly. You're just standing up here casting a rift. That's the fucking problem. I'm not saying you have to be hiding in a corner every time you cast a rift, but you know, if you drop down here, then those two guys over there can't see you. You only have to deal with this one guy shooting you. Then you can heal, take this guy out, you know, play it smart, you know, like a big brain of Space Wizard would. I don't. Jesus fucking. Let's continue.
So there's a lot that Rift needs to actually be fixed, and I want to talk about a few things that I think Bungie should do to Rift. The first thing that Bungie needs to do is actually fix the difference between the two rifts. As I mentioned, no one uses Empowering Rift, and even with Secant Filaments, it's not even that good of a thing anymore. So I think that the current...
I think Empowering Rift has a place as is. And it just needs... They just need to unnerf it, really, is what needs to happen. Is they need to unnerf it in PvP so that it has its place back in PvP. That's kind of it. That's all they really can do to it. Is they're not gonna remove it. That's just stupid.
Version of Empowering Rift is never going to find usability in the game, so I think that Bungie just needs to cut their losses and kill Empowering Rift.
No. They can't. Why?
What I would do is I would just merge Healing Rift and Empowering Rift into...
Okay. Yeah, no, this guy does not play PvP. That would be... There's an exotic that does that, you know. Nobody uses it because it sucks. God. Merging, healing, and empowering rifts. I can't see any problems. despite having an exotic that lets you buff your teammates with a 35% damage bonus while standing in an Empowering Rift from pretty much anywhere on a PvP map. Boots the Assembler, the ones you shit on at the beginning of the video. That's something that lets you fill up your Lumina. You can have a rift that lasts pretty much forever. You can have teammates that do 35% more damage, which is enough to one-shot with things that shouldn't one-shot. Or, well, one-shot more easily with things that shouldn't be one-shotting to the body. I don't see any problems with this. But, you do not play PvP enough to know how much of a problem that would be. If those stupid fucking Warlock toe boots, what are they even called? PPP. God damn it, I don't want to look at them. Prometheum Spur. Prometheum Spur does that. And the Rift itself is good, but if every Rift was just the Prometheum Spur Rift, that would be unbelievably overpowered. Either the healing or the empowering would have to be toned down to a point where they're useless. Or both. Both of them could get toned down. That's how you kill Warlock, right there, is combining them and making that the default. That's how you kill Warlock.
Into one rift and just call the new rift Empowering Rift. And then replace the second rift with something called Elemental Rift. So
this ought to be good.
If you want to actually have something that offers differences between the two rifts, having an Elemental Rift grant subclass verbs based on your subclasses would actually incite people to maybe consider switching between the two rifts more often. So, for example, Elemental Rift would grant a subclass verb based on the casting subclass. So, for example, if you cast a Void Rift, you get Volatile rounds, Solar Rift, Scorch rounds, Arc Rift, Jolt rounds, Stasis Rift, Slow rounds, and Strand Rift would be Unraveling.
Okay, what you've just described is a buff to Empowering Rift. Just do that. Just roll that into Empowering Rift as it is. There's your fix to Empowering Rift. There's your way to make Rift more exciting. You don't get any healing, but by golly, you get your subclass verbs and your extra damage. You've just fixed Empowering Rift. You don't need to get rid of Empowering Rift. You roll this Elemental Rift idea into your Empowering Rift. Boom, you fixed Empowering Rift.
Rounds. So something to spice up the gameplay loop a bit.
Yeah.
The next thing that needs to happen is Rift cooldown needs to be reduced. As I mentioned,
absolutely not. No. You are playing the ability spam class. There are so many avenues for you to be able to spam all of your abilities. If you're waiting on a cooldown for something, it's either A, you fucked up your ability loop, or B, you're not playing the class correctly. You're not... This is 0 abilities charged. What are you doing? What are you doing? Also, Celestial Fire and PvE? Yikes. Celestial Fire sucks. I don't... no, there's... off topic, but Celestial Fire sucks outside of PvP. Super, like, if you're using something like Sunbracers, super inconsistent procs for Sunbracers. I mean, yeah, the long-range Scorch is neat, and, you could use it for, like, Radiant stuff, but, like, those are not, like, worth running things. Your Incinerator Snap is Scorch and Radiant, and also can just flat-out cause an ignition. You should be jumping every time you throw your melee. You should be in the air so you can get your melee back. But Heat Rises, which I assume you're running because you're in PvE, and Heat Rises is the top dog as far as Solar Warlock goes in both sides of the game, PvE and PvP. I really need to stop critiquing your gameplay, but if you run out of abilities and you're waiting on your, if you end up in a situation where you're hiding in a corner waiting on your rift, you're not, something about your build isn't working. Something has gone wrong.
And Rift is nowhere near as potent as Bungie apparently thinks it is. I mean, sure, as I mentioned, healing on demand is one thing, but the other two class abilities offer so.
Hunter dodge is dog shit in PvE. It's bad. Hunter dodge is bad. This is a bit of bias. I don't like heavy. I don't like how focused on gunplay Hunter is. That's a bit of personal bias. Dodge is nowhere near as good as Rift is in PvE. Barricade is better, but the higher you go, the less effective all of them become. That's just how high-end content works. But the like the curve of, you know, like the downward curve of effectiveness is difficult. You know, you got your, like, okay, do I have to open paint? Like if I go like this, effectiveness. Difficulty of content. See, and then you get like Hunter dodge. We'll go blue for hunters because that's their class color. Hunter dodge looks something like this. That's what hunter dodge looks like. And then, you know, like Titans, if they all start out at the same spot, the same effectiveness in like patrol, yeah, they all start out at the same point. Titan looks a little bit more like this. And because, you know, get to GMs and shit just fucks barricades. Like a wyvern and glass wheel just two-shot a barricade. It's hilarious. You get like Warlock Rift, which is like this. It's kind of just the same amount of effectiveness. It really just depends on how smart you are with the ability. I was a little harsh on hunters. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little harsh on hunters here. Hold on, let me fix this. Just because I don't know how to play something doesn't mean I have to fucking trash it. But hunter is a little bit more like this. You know, if you're rocking Void Hunter, it looks more like the Warlock one because, you know, Invis dodge is insane because Invis is insane. But, you know, that's not just the base ability. That's something else that's making the ability better. That's not what we're ranking here. We're ranking the class abilities. Warlock undeniably has the best class ability, which is why the cooldown is so long. I'm just gonna close this. I might have to bring this back up later. But all right, let's keep going.
So much more potency than Rift does. And then finally, we need to do something about the Rift cast time budget. Please.
No, we don't. No, we don't. That cast time is a non-factor in PvE. It really is. In PvP, it's what balances it. If you could cast a rift as fast as you could throw, as fast as you could dodge, that would be a problem. If you're chasing someone and they round a corner and they can just have a rift at their feet in a moment's notice, that's a problem. Because now they have, you know, their instant heal circle, and they don't have, recovery doesn't matter anymore. Their recovery stat is a non-factor.
please reduce it by at least 50%, if not more.
Wow. This man does not play PvP. That cast time is specifically to balance the ability in PvP. Nothing else.
It should be on equal footing to other classes. If not, make it quicker than Titan, but slower than Hunters, because
what? Quicker than God. I cannot. I don't know how
when you
many
get
more
stuck
ways
in
I
a
can
Rift cast
phrase Warlock Rift is more potent than the other two abilities.
animation and you're getting blasted and there's nothing you can do, it is not an experience that is fun.
It's not that there's nothing you can do. You can move. You can just walk away. You could go around a corner and then pop your rift. It's not like you're locked into the rift. It's not like an invisible wall that keeps you there until it's gone. You're allowed to just put it down and walk away. Yeah, I play Void Warlock. The Void Warlock is my main. I'll throw down a rift just to get the Void Child, and I don't even use the rift.
Or inciting to the game, so please do something about that. So, we talked about Warlock Rift now, and that's something that all the subclasses would have to have changed. Now let's talk about the 3.0 verbs, and I want to start with Solo 3.0, which is probably the worst subclass release that Bungie has had for Warlock so far.
Yes.
This one was so bad that most Warlock mains thought that this was some kind of a practical joke being played by Bungie and that they actually hid the actual update down the line. The Daybreak Super was left in a pitiful state.
And still is.
2 of the 3 aspects were focused on movement alone, which never should have been done. Yeah. And then Phoenix Dive's cooldown was beyond excessive. Warlocks were forced into one of 2 solar builds at this time. Sunbracer Solar Grenade builds or Starfire Protocol Well of Radiance builds.
Okay. Those aren't 2 different builds. Those are both the same build with a different exotic. The build that Solar Warlocks get, that's the only build that Solar Warlock has, is just throw a shitload of grenades. That's what every Solar Warlock build basically devolves into, because it's all it has, because 2 of the 3 aspects are based on movement. I'm going to be honest, I agree 100% with you here. Solar Warlock is the worst 3.0 update. The loss of Bottom Tree Dawnblade was such a crippling blow to the subclass as a whole. Just the things that Bottom Tree Dawnblade did for the class, and the variety it had and would provide Warlocks in this, sandbox that we have. The fact that we lost that is a devastating blow to the variety of the class, and is one of the biggest pain points I have with the 3.0 system is just the loss of certain playstyles through the translation of, Bungie's version of how they think we should play these characters, these classes, whatever they are.
2 effective builds for a complete subclass. See the problem here?
Yeah, because when it released, Dawn Course was just bad. Dawn Course didn't serve a purpose. It had no purpose, because sure, it buffed Scorch damage, sure, but Scorch, it didn't do. Scorching a boss doesn't really do anything, and ads already died to Scorch basically instantly anyway. So, yeah, the Solar Warlock was a major fumble on the part of Bungie, because they really did just make it spam grenades the subclass.
Bungie's own advertising at the same time had Solar 3.0 marked as an incandescent priest, which would be the high tier support class of the game, offering both offensive scorching capabilities, which was actually met, whereas the supporting healing capabilities was completely...
Okay, support does not mean heal. Support means support, as in buffing your allies. You know, which, is Healing Rift, Healing Grenade, Radiant on melee hit, Well of Radiance, Boots of the Assembler, Lunafactions, things that you would have to build into to get a benefit from. These exotics that you have that will help your teammates that you have to build into. Yeah, that is something that Solar Warlock excels at, actually. Lumina, Boots the Assembler, Lunafactions, Well of Radiance, Phoenix Protocol.
Ignored. So sure, you could throw solar grenades or fusion grenades out, but there was no support role outside of the already existent Well of Radiance. Which, by the way, I'll remind everyone that numerous streamers have begged for nerfs on, so it's only a matter of time before that gets nerfed too.
Bungie's not gonna nerf well, because it's the only support super we have. Can't shoot through a bubble. They've already toned down Well of Radiance from what it was when it released. Well of Radiance is as a super is fine where it sits, especially because of Bungie's ability, actually, cool, great adaptability of just making encounters where Well sucks, like Exhibition on Vow. No one's putting a Well down there. No one's using Well, because you're constantly moving. Rolk, where, he's constantly moving, can run up to you and just boot your ass out of the Well. Yeah. Fantastic game design. They've learned to balance things around Well. Golgoroth is another one. No one's really using Well there. I mean, sure, you'll see a couple of Wells, but because you're moving around so much, you don't get maximum efficacy out of the Well. Like King's Fall, yeah, okay, but that's a D1 raid. That's not really something that they could have really changed. They can't have, little mini Oryx run around a boss room like Rolk. They can't really change the boss fight that much. They wanted to stay faithful to the original. So, while I don't think it needs a nerf, we just need more things that prevent you from using it and crutching on it as hard as the Destiny community does.
Bungie was literally forced to quickly patch in some minor adjustments, which added some healing capabilities to Solar. But even then, this subclass is still in a terrible position. The main...
Yes, but you're wrong about how it's in a bad position, because the position that it's in is that there's only one way to kill things. There are a million different ways you can support your classes. There's only one or two effective offensive builds for Solar Warlock, and it's just to throw some fucking grenades. That's how Solar Warlock plays now.
Super Dawnblade has lost all of its usability in PvE for fear of making it too strong in PvP.
Yeah.
Well of Radiance is holding on by a thread because it's only going to get nerfed eventually. And the only damage-focused grenade build in Starfire Protocol is now being
Sunbraces is better. Sunbraces was always better. It just took people a while to learn it.
Removed from the game because it's too overpowered.
Yes. When your entire game is just blown through by one guy sitting in a funny circle, it's time to look at it. When it becomes a mandatory thing, that means it's too strong. It needed to be nerfed. Yes, it did need to be nerfed. Starfire Protocol was way too strong for way too long. It's Season of the Deep now. It has been exactly 1 year since one content year since Season of the Haunted, and Starfire was just allowed to run rampant that entire time. You had a year to crutch on your fusion nades. It's time for the meta to move on. I don't want to be throwing fusion nades for 3 years.
Powered. This goes right back to the kicker right at the beginning of the video, Bungie. Warlock is supposed to be an ability-focused class. It's not a gunplay class. It's an ability class.
Yes.
So, what's Bungie doing about this? Well, in Season of the Deep, Bungie is offering a slight bump to Daybreak. To the camera angle.
You know, despite them they already lowered the cooldown of it last season. Like during the mid-season patch, they lowered the cooldown of it. Dawn Chorus is back on the menu. They buffed the shit out of Dawn Chorus. They gave it back its old interaction where it makes Daybreak do a lot more damage. That's a thing. You know, the exotic specifically designed to make Daybreak good. Just makes Daybreak good again. They fixed it. They undid their fuck up. Kinda. You know, a little bit of that bottom tree Dawn Blade is coming back.
The super is still pitiful and is holding the potential of the full kit back. So
okay, that's really, you know, holding the potential of the full kit back. That's not how this works. The kit supports the super. The super doesn't support the kit. The kit is all just build up until you get your super. You use your super, and then you use your kit to build it up again. The super doesn't feed into the kit. The kit feeds into the super. That's why it's the super. It's the super. It doesn't hold the class back. It's just the kit is so strong. The super has to be not that great. That's why, you know, originally in the subclass 2.0 system, when they had, you know, top tree Dawnblade, that super was so much worse than the bottom tree Dawnblade version of it. Because bottom tree Dawnblade had, you know, you throw the sword and then you get the line of fire on the ground. It also had insane tracking and refunds a portion of your super energy on a kill. That, yeah, it was a really good super. But, you know, the subclass it was tied to wasn't that great for PvP. Top Tree Dawnblade was completely oriented around PvP, and the super showed it, because the super wasn't that great. No tracking, no line of fire, no super extension on kills. It was just throw the swords, dash around. Yeah, it was balanced, as it were. But, you know, the homogenizing of the subclasses ruined that, and now we have the watered down version of bottom trees. So it's just top trees, but with the bottom tree tracking, and fire on the tracking isn't even that good.
Let's talk about how we can actually address Solar Warlock. So let's start with the super, Daybreak. Daybreak needs some serious loving to be brought back into the fold.
Yeah.
And I feel this starts by doubling the duration of the base super. PvP, be damned.
Okay, so yeah, if that's the way we're going, you have to just say PvP be damned. If you want to just buff the shit out of the super, yeah, PvP be damned, or increase the cooldown. Again, things have to be balanced. Things have to be enjoyable for all the players. As much as I despise Hunter mains, it's not.
Solar Warlock has very little offensive capabilities, and one of the only remaining ones in Fusion Grenade spam is being taught.
Sunbracers. You need to broaden your horizons, dude. There are a lot of ways. You're right. There needs to be more different ways than just huck infinite grenades for Solar Warlock to be offensive. Be an offensive build. But the healing factor is not nearly as weak as you seem to be intent on making it out to be.
Tossed from the game. Also, the projectiles should scorch targets by default. We should not be forced to use an exotic in Dawn Chorus just to make our super feel useful.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because, you know, they did the same thing to Burning Maul, because Burning Maul just didn't scorch, you know, despite, you know, spawning a giant fire tornado, didn't actually scorch anything. So yeah, that's reasonable. That is something that needs to change.
Finally, the overall damage of the super needs a serious bump.
Yep.
If you just double the duration, you get 8 sword throws. The damage needs to be increased such that the swords hit hard enough to be useful.
In
All right.
high-end content, yes.
Next up, let's talk about the aspects. I'm going to hit the big ones right away. Heat Rises and Icarus Dash. These two, I know Bungie has said that they didn't want to combine them, but at this point, Bungie, just merge them together.
No. That's not the solution here. Because, God, I hate Icarus Dash. Icarus Dash can be its own PvP-focused, whatever. Just give us a new aspect. Just give us a new aspect, okay? I can talk about that. I'm sure he's going to talk about the other
The fact that two of the aspects are focused on movement means that, truthfully, we only really...
Okay. Heat Rises is not just... I mean, sure, it provides movement. It's not entirely based on movement. It's also based on ability regen and healing, believe it or not. You know, because when you consume your grenade, you heal yourself and everyone around you. And, you know, getting kills while airborne, refund your melee, which makes it easier to... Oh, God. Let's keep going.
Really have one option for an aspect here. Bungie, you guys need to go back to the drawing board here. Redesign Heat Rises or Icarus Dash, merge the two together, maybe just merge them into Heat Rises, and then redesign Icarus Dash completely.
Just give us a new one.
Go back to the drawing board. Go back to that whole logic of the incandescent priest option. Maybe focus on something that grants...
Give us another way to kill shit. How about this? We get an aspect that just brings back the bottom tree Dawnblade power fantasy, which is just making shit burn and explode. Sunshot the subclass, if you will. Like bottom tree Dawnblade used to do. Like if I scorch something and it dies to that scorch, it explodes and spreads scorch to other nearby stuff. And it causes them to explode, and it chains, and it gives us another way to kill shit other than just throw grenades. I'm so sick of throwing solar grenades I can't fucking see straight. Give us another way to kill shit.
It's more support capabilities or healing capabilities.
We don't need...
Alright, and finally, to wrap off my discussion on solar, there's the elephant in the room.
If you truly want to heal, there are 150 billion gazillion ways you could build into it.
Starfire Protocol. Now, Bungie devs actually came out on a recent podcast and said that they didn't want to obliterate usage on an exotic in their tweaks, but let's be honest, guys. Reducing the grenade recharge from 20% to 2.5% is going to do just that. Please...
Yeah, it's too
go
much.
back, find a safer middle ground, and then start focusing on the real problem, Bungie. Lackluster exotics. I have been hammering this in my State of Destiny 2 videos for 2 years now. If you want people to stop using Starfire Protocol, stop giving us Rain of Fire. Make exotic armor pieces that offer meaningful gameplay loops.
Build into your exotic. You shit on Nothing Manacles at the beginning of the video, which is something I cannot abide by, because Nothing Manacles are one of the best, in my opinion, exotics for sorry, I lost my train of thought. Void builds, Void Warlock builds. They're one of the best exotics for it, because it just gives you a second grenade to charge in the background while you throw other grenades and do other shit. It makes the one burst damage grenade that gives us a burst damage grenade option that's way better than the other ones, by the way. Magnetic grenade be damned. It gives you two of them, and with the proper it gives you Chaos Accelerant on Scatternades for free. So, like, yeah, these are an incredible exotic, kid. If you think they're bad, it's because you don't know what you're doing.
It's the reason why exotics like Starfire Protocol and Sunbracers are so popular.
It's because they're easy to use. It has nothing to do with the potency of the exotic. It has everything to do with the barrier to entry. Starfire Protocol's barrier to entry is put down a rift, shoot a gun, throw infinite grenades. Mathematical's barrier to entry is form a cohesive loop between all of your abilities on Void Warlock and just never have ability cooldowns. It's just, you have to build around the exotic. The Starfire, the exotic just does everything for you. This requires work. Starfire doesn't. That's the difference. That's why Starfire was as strong as it was, because it just does everything. It's just not a sustainable thing.
It's because they're actually fun to use. We have an actual gameplay.
There's no fucking way that you consider standing in a fucking well of radiance for a year just hucking fusion nades was a fun damage method. There's no way you enjoyed all that. That was the only thing warlocks were allowed to do, was just plop down a well, shoot with a horde, and chuck fusion grenades. No, that was not fun. I want to do different things. I want to do more things than just sit in a rift and throw fusion nades. Starfire getting nerfed will do way more for the class than it ever did when it was unnerfed.
Loop, not this niche one-off kind of, oh, here's a slight damage buff when you scorch a target. No one cares about that.
Dawn Chorus is an incredible exotic. I will not hear any slander.
Give us something that actually makes the gameplay loop feel more active and engaging. That's how you get people off of Starfire Protocol and Sunbracers. Okay. Next up is Arc 3.0 on my pain point list. And again, this goes to the heart of what 3.0 did. And I can honestly, at this point, just call the 3.0 reworks as take Warlock identity and give it to everyone else.
Yeah,
and
that right there, that whole take Warlock identity and give it to everyone else, is the exact thing I knew was going to happen the moment they announced it, and that's why I was so against them doing it for the entirety of the year. Void did surprise me, because Void 3.0 is 100% definitely the best of the 3.0 subclass reworks, because each class got its own subclass verb. Titans got Overshield, Hunters got Invis, Warlocks got Devour, and all three classes had limited access to the other classes' things, but not enough that they could just build into them. Like, Warlocks can get Invis, but only with the finisher aspect, and Hunters can get Devour, but only with the orb pickup. And both of those classes can get Overshield, or all the classes can get Devour, but Titans and Hunters can only get it on orb pickup. All the classes can get Invis, but Hunters and Titans have to get finishers. All the classes can get Void Overshield. The other two just have to rely on shit like Repulsor Brace. Love Repulsor Brace. Repulsor Brace is a great perk. Buff it, Bungie, please. It needs more. It needs to be overpowered, because I have all of the guns with the Repulsor Brace. Let's move on before I talk about Repulsor Brace more.
All but inevitable in a 3.0 world, because Warlocks for the longest time, as I mentioned, was...
So Void 3.0, I didn't really finish my thought, because I got distracted by the thought of Repulsor Brace. But the other 3.0 reworks really did not differentiate the subclass verbs like that. Because, like, Solar, all the classes have, like, equal access to all of the abilities, except for, Hunters not really having access to Restoration outside of the healing grenade. they all have like equal access to Scorch and Restore, Cure, and Radiant. There's no differentiation. There's no There's nothing that differs the classes there on Solar, and that's one of the big problems. And same goes for Arc, because Amplified is just the same across all three classes. Jolt is the same, which is a tragedy. That's the big misstep I think we have here of the 3.0 subclasses. This is why Void is so much better than the other two. And Stasis and Strand, for that matter, as far as class identity goes. Although the aspects do a lot for the classes on Strand. And it's really just Solar and Arc where class identity is a big issue. All right, let's move.
The ability focus class, so we had all of the ability focus kits. But the ball was pushed so much that when the time came to actually make adjustments to Warlocks, Bungie tried to change the identity of the class as a whole into something that it isn't. They called Arc 3.0 a hold W class, which means you always push forward. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Warlocks have the least maneuverability and movement capabilities.
Oh my god, are we back on the... There's no fucking way you brought it back to the fucking maneuverability point. Jesus fucking Christ. Hold W class does not mean just run forward. That's not what they meant. They meant play aggressive. That's what they meant. They meant being aggressive, an upfront playstyle, a get in their face and just throw shit around playstyle. It doesn't mean actually hold W. Oh my god.
This made the whole experience feel cheesy and non-functional for Arc Warlock.
Okay, yeah.
The original problem sourced with Stormcaller being held back by their supers. At the time of the Arc 3.0 launch, Stormcaller was the least used Warlock class in the game because of the supers. Stormtrance and Chaos Reach for the longest time have been incredibly weak options. The only thing that Arc Warlocks had that gave them some cadence was things like Arc Web, which transformed into the Jolt.
And I will say, it is a tragedy that Arc Web is something that we lost, because getting grenade energy back based on jolting a target and getting grenade energy back every time that jolt does damage would be incredibly strong. And if Bungie does add more aspects to our light subclasses, that is definitely something they should consider adding to Warlock, is just retooling Arc Web into doing what it did before, but through Jolt instead of grenades chaining.
Jolt keyword with 3.0. We went 2 whole seasons without a single peep from Bungie, even though the community was railing on Bungie for Stormtrance and Chaos Reach needing significant bumps. Now, Bungie has finally listened, and they're making some targeted adjustments to Season of the Deep supers, but I personally don't think it's going to be enough. Just like Solar, Arc also has an aspect problem. Now, Arc Soul, that was one of the original...
So, supers and roaming supers in PvE 100% need to be looked at and buffed to high hell if Bungie wants us to use them. It's just not... It's just not...
Original Warlock kit's Arc features, and while it did receive a buff, it still kind of underperforms in the endgame, so some targeted adjustments really there would be nice.
It's just
Electrostatic Mind is utterly useless as an aspect, since there are fragments and weapons which, when slotted, give Titans and Hunters the...
Okay, but you don't have to run the fragment. That's the point of the aspect is you get all those fragments for free, and you can run other fragments. That's the point. The point of the aspect is that you can do that without having to run those fragments. It frees you up to run more things. It's like having 3 extra fragment slots.
Exact same capabilities. And then Lightning Surge, which was Bungie's attempt to fold Warlock into that whole W paradigm that they wanted to make. It's not working. Now,
It's a
Arc
PvP.
3.0, I think Bungie doesn't.
It's a PvP focused aspect, which is fine. But it's just not.
Not have as much work on their plate as Solar does, but it does need help. And a couple of targeted adjustments that I think they could do to really get the ball rolling here would be the following. So, Storm Trance, let the 25% buff go into place. But first and foremost, the super should jolt targets always, not just on the initial cast. The maximum damage is going to need another bump. I don't think 25% is going to be enough. I tested Storm Trance on an unstoppable champion in a Master Nightfall back in Season 18. It did only half of its health of damage.
Okay.
A 25% damage buff is not going to be enough. You're going to need to throw another 25% at a minimum.
It's an ad clear super. It's not a damage super.
For Chaos Reach, if Bungie still seems intent on keeping Chaos Reach to be that hybrid roaming super, then it really needs to pump out the damage to meet that demand.
Yes, it does need a damage
Chaos
buff.
Reach, in my opinion, should be the Arc super that has the highest potential damage of all of the Arc supers in the game, since it requires the highest amount of risk from the casting player. So,
hold on. You're saying chaos reaching a boss from across the map is the same level of risk as throwing yourself at Mach 10 at the boss with Thunder Crash. I say Gathering Storm, I would say, yeah, it's definitely just low risk. But Thunder Crash is definitely high risk, especially in like GMs, because you just throw yourself out there, and if you're not smart about it, you will just die.
Bungie is giving it a 25% damage buff, but it's going to need to have more, so another 25% on top of that at a minimum.
Yeah, okay.
For aspects, I think Arcso only needs a couple of adjustments. I think the default rate of fire should be the amplified mode as it is right now, so the fast fire mode. And then while amplified, the projectiles should have maybe a slightly higher damage, like maybe 5 to 10%, and then the ability to jolt targets. Electrostatic Mind needs a complete rehash because, as I mentioned, it's basically a useless aspect that every other class can already do.
No, it's fine.
I think the big thing holding Arc Warlock back right now is in-game survivability. So maybe make this the aspect that gives some help there. So something like Overshield on Ionic Trace Collection or something like that. Add some survivability here or there.
Healing.
Lightning Surge is going to be the thing that Bungie.
Here's you keep Electrostatic Mind the way it is. Here's what you do: is you just add a burst of healing every time you collect an Ionic Trace. Boom, fix the subclass. Boom, boom, kaboom! Lightning crackle, explosion. Give us a little bit of health every time we pick up an Ionic Trace. We're making so fucking many of them, it's basically devour. If you build into it, it could really just make the game easy. I mean, the game is easy, but it could be easy on Arc. Electrostatic Mind is fine the way it is. You're a lunatic if you think otherwise.
It really needs to redesign. As I said before, this whole slide melee thing is out of place on.
It's not really out of place. It kind of fits with the Arc thing. It's got the lightning strikes. It works. It's just not a PvE aspect. It's meant for PvP, and clearly, for given, you know, the numerous times in this little span of the video that I've watched, you don't play PvP. So, for you, yes, the aspect does nothing. For someone like, you know, fucking Bob over here on my recommended, maybe he plays PvP, maybe he likes Arc Warlock, Maybe it does a lot for him. Maybe he's built his entire PvP personality around the fucking thing. It does what it does. It doesn't do everything. Not everything can do everything.
Warlock. I think instead this should be an aspect that focuses on beefing up your abilities even more. So something that grants you like an overcharge effect that makes your arc abilities and your supers do even more damage. So go back to the drawing board on light.
That sounds like an exotic to me. That doesn't sound like an aspect. That sounds like an exotic.
Surge and get rid of
like maybe possible buff to Crown of Tempests, which rewards you using abilities with more abilities. Or, you know, Storm Dancer's Brace, which rewards you killing stuff with your super with more damage on your super.
this silly hold W paradigm for Warlocks. It doesn't.
What the fuck does paradigm even mean? What the fuck is paradigm? It's paradigm, isn't it? What the fuck does paradigm even mean? Oh, a model. Okay. Okay. Alright, that makes sense now.
And it's never going to fit. All right, let's talk about the darkness subclasses now. So Stasis, in lieu of what I'm hoping will eventually be a Stasis 3.0 rework that adds more to...
What Stasis needs right now, as someone who's mained it in PvE and PvP, the Glacial Harvest aspect needs a buff. We need more grenades. We need another super. That's what Stasis needs right now. Everything else is fine. It needs grenades. It needs a super. The Glacial Harvest aspect needs a bump.
Warlock, I'm only going to cover the few things that I think Stasis needs right now. As it pertains to Warlock, Warlock is the only class that has no access to some kind of a shatter ability.
Yes, correct. That is correct. Yes, because shatter is the Titan verb as far as Stasis is concerned. You know, you have hunters that they're the slow guys. Warlocks are the freeze guys. Titans are the shatter guys. They did the break up the subclass verbs between the three classes, or at least they tried to before they gave hunters shatter dive and they gave Titans access to instant freeze, and hunters or warlocks are just kind of sitting here in the middle with all their insta freezes and no way to shatter them. That's just the way Warlock is built. That's not going to change. It's not going to rework the entire subclass.
Both Titans and Hunters can freely shatter stasis crystals. Warlocks do not have an ability.
Warlocks do not build into crystals. That is true. You can build into crystals, not the way the Titans and Hunters can. It's just not in the Warlock kit. Warlock Stasis kit is about freezing. You freeze shit in place, you kill it. You don't shatter it. That's not what you do. You freeze it. Hunter kit only has shattering because slowing things is really just weak. It's weak. It's a weak ability. Whatever. Titan's whole thing is shattering. Shattering isn't that strong. I don't know if you know this. Shattering crystals is not that strong. They have nerfed stasis crystals extensively since Beyond Light.
Ability to shatter them. So I think something needs to be done to add the capability to shatter targets outside of the super. Now, adding that 10% damage buff, that's a nice touch. I think the super is actually in a good place right now for Warlock, so that's something I'm glad to see, but, you know, I don't really think it's necessary. Glacial Harvest is the big thing that needs a lot of work. The biggest problem with Glacial Harvest is its 10-second cooldown. None of the other shard creation aspects in the game actually have a cooldown. So at this point in time, it's time to just get rid of the cooldowns. As I said before, Warlock is about ability usage, and, you know, things that recharge your abilities, give you more ability uptime, helps the Warlock as a whole. So drop the cooldown and let's lean more into that ability focus line of thought.
I don't say remove the cooldown.
As it pertains to everything else for Stasis Warlock, I think we're in an okay spot for now, minus the whole eventual need of a 3.0 update. We'll see what they do, and we'll revisit this topic at a later time.
Okay.
All right, now that leaves us with Strand. So the newest element that was added to the game, and as I said at the beginning of the video, This was supposed to be marketed as the summoner class, and right now, the only summon that we have is the threadling. And threadlings right now are really weak. Even with the fragment, which is supposed to increase their movement speed and damage, it really doesn't feel like that much of a bump. And the only threadling build that really gets things going is the Swarmer's exotic, which grants additional unravel capabilities. Now,
Unraveling is just
the
a
first
strong ability.
thing that was added was Weaver's Call, which was the first aspect you got, and that allows your Rift casts to spawn 3 threadlings. And your super, if you have projectiles that don't actually embed in targets, they can spawn threadlings. The second aspect, Mind Spun Invocation, you can use your threadling grenade to spawn 3 threadlings or consume it to have 5 threadlings. Or you can use your grapple to grapple melee a target and spawn more threadlings. But as I said before, the only problem is that threadlings right now are in a very bad spot.
Yeah, they're not great.
So I think the first thing that needs to happen
Buff the shit out of
is
threadlings.
Bungie needs to buff threadlings.
There you go.
And I think that Weaver's Call should actually do something that gives Warlock Threadlings a bit more of a kick, since, again, Warlock is supposed to be the summoner class, so the summons on Warlock should be a little more of a punch packer.
Really be able to,
And I think
direct where
that
the
what you
Threadlings
should
go
do
instead of
here
just running
is
off
redesign
randomly.
the Swarmer's exotic. So just add the unravel capabilities to Weaver's Call by default. So make it so Weaver's Call summons Threadlings and then all Threadlings unravel
Swarmers
targets.
just make
And
more
then
Threadlings
make the
spawn when you
Swarmer's
spawn
exotic
Swarmers.
something more about summoning a
Threadlings.
lot more
Yeah.
Threadlings.
There you go.
The big problem, though, for Warlock comes with the recent discussion on our first new aspect. So, the brand new element, everyone's getting excited about new capabilities being added to the class. You know, we're talking about Titans getting this incredible strand melee combo,
It's not
Hunters
that great.
giving a decoy that spawns Threadlings.
It's PvP.
And what does
focused.
Warlock get? Oh, hey, well, you can go pick up a Tangle, throw it at a target, and suspend them.
It's pretty good. It's
That's
actually
cool.
pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
Yeah,
ability.
see the
Also,
problem there? How things just did not even meet the same level of interest or excitement or capabilities, for that matter.
I don't know.
Who
it's
in their
pretty
right
cool. You
mind
can, like
thought
pseudo well skate with the tangles now because they just go so far. You can skip entire sections of jumping puzzles. Or, you know, throw your tangle and grapple over, you know, half of the Root of Nightmares jumping puzzle. No big deal.
that putting something on a Tangle would be a good idea.
Warlocks
Tangles
didn't have anything.
have a
Warlocks didn't really have anything to do with tangles before. It's nice that we actually have a use for the thing that we're constantly summoning now.
eternal 15-second cooldown when you spawn one. And if that's not bad enough, anyone in your team can pick him up. It's like the whole Warmind cell problem.
I fucking
all
hate
over
that,
again.
by the way. I was running a
So not only are you gonna have to
the
fight
other
your
night, and some fucking guy was just picking up on my things. I wasn't able to do my subclass. That is a problem.
teammates to be able to use this new aspect, but you have to fight the 15-second internal cooldown on spawning tangles.
Okay. The cooldown on tangles needs to be shortened. 100%. Definitely. Make it like 5 seconds if it has to be one. Obviously, you don't want a billion tangles on the fucking map at a time. I'm sure that would do great things for the servers, but come on. 15 seconds is a little excessive.
And what do you get for your troubles? something that you can throw at a target and suspend them. Well, guess what I can do already with Mind Spun Invocation?
Well,
I
yeah,
can
but now you have
consume my
more suspend.
shackle.
Now you have more suspend, though. If you like don't have your grenade charge and your ability's gone, you have a tangle. You have more access to it. It's just giving you more access to suspend. There's more than one avenue to suspend now. There's more. You can run something other than a suspend grenade and still have access to suspending.
Grenade and have the suspend effect chain off of targets for 30 seconds just by using the Necrotic Grasp as exotic armor piece. So this is a problem that I feel like goes right back to the heart of what Bungie has been doing since Glacial Harvest in Beyond Light. As I said before, I think the whole Shaft game on Warlock has been a continued thing since the middle of the year for Beyond Light. Ever since we started getting exotic armor pieces with Season of the Chosen, things have been on a downhill progression for Warlock with the exception of Void 3.0. So,
yeah,
I mean, at this point, it's pretty much done.
I agree that
but
overall,
this aspect is going to need a complete.
Overall, I think we're gonna go here. See, overall, I think that as far as subclasses go, let's go. Stasis from Beyond Light on. Stasis Warlock is just, it started up here, kind of. It's still kind of where it was, it was pretty bad for a while, and then we got Bleakwater, kind of bumped it back up. But it's got Solar from Beyond Light to now. You got the Year of Beyond Light, you got your Dawn Chorus, and it's great. And then you got your Solar 3.0, and it's just not nearly as fun anymore. I mean, it's still actually, it's still really strong, but it's nowhere near as fun as it used to be. And then you've got Void, which, I'm gonna be honest, Void was not in a great spot for a while, because you really just had Devour and nothing else. But then, Witch Queen Void just bumped the shit out of it. It's so fun. And then we've got Arc. Arc was great. Arc is great. Well, has the potential to be great. From the Year of Beyond Light, it was just, I should not start up there. I don't know why I started up there, because from the Year of Beyond Light, because Beyond Light, it was not great. So I'm going to put it, they changed the color of it. It used to be more this color back in the day, and then they changed the color of all the Arc subclasses to this color, which pissed me off, because this is way easier to see. But I'm just going to go with this one, because it looks different from Stasis now. Maybe that's why they did it. But it started kind of down here for the reasons you mentioned earlier. It's really just not that great. Kind of wow. And then with the Season of Lost 30th anniversary update, it just kind of got up there a ways, and it was really fun for a while, because it had a higher ability uptime than the other ones. And then, we got Arc 3.0. I kind of lost it. But since then, it's gotten some steady buffs. It's not as strong as some of our other options, but it's not the worst. It's not unusable. It's just not as strong as something like Solar or Void or Stasis. And then we've got Strand, brand new. Kind of started out down here. It really did. It just kind of, once people figured out that you could do some of the things that you could do with it, and then this new aspect really does just make it great. So, I don't think you're being entirely fair to Strand. It's the new subclass. New kid on the block. Solar is still strong. Void is this right here, this is bias for void, by the way. I'm biased. So, I don't know. That's
redesign. There's 3 things that I think Bungie absolutely needs to do if they want this thing to have any kind of usability or point in the game at all. First, you're gonna have to kill the tangle cooldown when this aspect is equipped. Like this thing is just not gonna have any usability with a 15-second tangle cooldown. Second, you're gonna have to make it so when a warlock creates a tangle with this aspect equipped, that warlock character has priority over that tangle. Like, you're gonna have to make it so other people can't just come in and swoop the tangle. It's gonna have to be locked to that player.
that'd be
And
nice.
then finally, I mean, you know, the whole suspend thing is nice and all, but tangles as a whole right now, it's another part of the game that feels really underperforming, just like threadlings are. So
yeah, they could bump
you're gonna have to do
tangles.
something to make this thing feel more usable. I mean, I really hope that this is the only tangle focused thing that you're considering doing. Like, again, I don't know what you were thinking with this one. Like, this really shows that you don't care about warlocks, I guess, because like you didn't even spend the time to add in some unique effects on it. You know, you hear a name like the Wanderer, you would think that the tangle would at least look a bit different, but
It
no,
does actually.
it's just
It
a
does.
tangle that flies.
It does actually look a bit different when you're holding it. It does, like, it's got like extra strandy shit that looks cooler, I guess. I don't know.
Through the air, and then you said it has enhanced tracking capabilities, and then the little
Yeah, it does have enhanced tracking capabilities. Yep.
clip we saw showed that it just, you know, maybe turned a little more towards that one Vex goblin. So yeah, that
Also, if you don't throw it at anything, it just keeps going. It goes in a straight line. So you can just rocket ride it, or grapple. You can just grapple to it, get your grapple back, and just keep going. It's good, great movement ability. You know, that maneuverability you were talking about earlier, all over the fucking place in here for some reason. Yeah, warlocks still have it. You just have to be conscious.
that's gonna hurt, and you know, I really hope that you've got something planned to, you know, change the page on things, because shafting warlocks is getting really old at this point. So a little different video to round out Season of the Defiance, but this is something I wanted to get off
This
my
video is a couple weeks old, so he's speaking from tail end of the Season of the Defiance.
chest. The recent reveal of aspects for warlocks makes me feel like we're repeating the same cycle of Beyond Light all over again. Bungie, you've seen usability numbers on classes for a long time now. You know that warlocks are the least used class in the game.
That's simply not true with Titans.
Hell, you had to nerf both Hunters and Titans last year in Guardian games just so warlocks would win last year. An event I don't even care about, by the way.
Well, they didn't nerf them. But the way it was is that, oh god, if they'd won previously, like each day, like say Titans won the first day, they got gold. That gold would be like a debuff against them, right? Or just like a flat, and then silver and bronze would be a buff. So that next day, so it's like balanced. So like if one team just gets gold, at some point the team that keeps getting bronze is going to get enough buffs, quote unquote, that it jumps up to first. It's balanced. It really doesn't depend on player count anymore. It depends on, you know, who's winning / not winning each day. It's a much more balanced thing than it was originally.
Way. I would imagine if you started being a little more aware of your own design paradigms for the classes and how your reduction of abilities to make gun.
Yeah, so the biggest misstep Bungie had, I think I said this earlier, I don't remember, I've been recording this for a while now, was not separating subclass verbs the way they did Void and Stasis. That was the biggest misstep, I think, because it just reduces the way they were lazy coming up with subclass verbs for solar
Play more.
and arc, which is why all three classes share them across the board. There's no individuality.
Viable violates the exact setup that you had for warlocks in the first place. And maybe you should consider, oh, maybe we shouldn't reduce ability uptime for warlocks because that's the whole point of the warlock class. So yes, me being a disgruntled warlock main, I will clearly say it. Stop shafting my class. I want to see the flashy cool stuff like Bleak Watcher more often. It really helps to drive interest in our class, even when there are many areas that it falls behind.
That was a good replacement
compared to Titans and Hunters. So that's going to be it for my video today. Again, a little different, but something I really have to get off my chest. Something I'm really tired of seeing in the game.
Yeah. All right. That was that. I think I disagree. I think I disagreed with him a lot on a lot of things. But I don't know. If you end up watching this whole thing, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because God, I feel like am I out of touch? Is he out of touch? Is one of us has got to be wrong here. There were so many things I feel like he just did not consider, or just maybe he just doesn't understand. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna call it there. Have a good night.